This is the debug application activity in C#. I'm not going to go through the entire project or the entire activity here. What I really want to do is give you enough information to get you started. This activity really is about you exploring the debugging tools that are built into the IDEs that we're using. For C#, this is going to be Visual Studio. I have the solution open here. I've got the README file. We basically want to debug an application to find out how something works and why it's broken. So there's a problem going on. Let's look and see what the problem is. I'll build the solution really fast. While that's building, I'll expand the tests. All right, now that that's up, I'm going to run the test. I may need to run it a few times to get the error, but we're going to see that we get multiple errors or different errors when we run it. So I'll run it, and we'll see that we have an assertion failed. We expected a certain patient, and we didn't get that patient. I'll run it again. This time it passes. I'll run it again. This time it fails. There's a different ID. I'll run it again. It passes. I'll run it again. It failed with the second ID. I run it again. It passes. I run it again. There's a third ID. So it's randomly or it's intermittently failing, and we're not quite sure why. So this exercise is trying to figure that out. Again, I'm not going to give you the answer. I want you to explore this because this is about learning how the debugger works. Now that we can demonstrate the failing test, what we want to do is set some breakpoints. A breakpoint is a line of code where we want the execution of the runtime to pause so we can interrogate. Let me open up the test file really fast. Now that I've got that, head back to the README. We're going to set breakpoints, and these are recommendations. You can set them wherever you'd like, but I'm giving you some initial recommendations. Lines 21, 30, 33. So 21, here is the breakpoint icon. I'm going to click on that. That's going to break on that line. 30, 33, 36, 41, and 45, 36, 41, and 45. And notice 45 is the end of the test method, so it lets us see what's happening right at the end before the test actually finishes executing. Then we're going to go to the patient sorter class, do the same thing. I'm not going to set all of these, but I do recommend setting quite a few of these so you can see what's going on. We have, let's see, 1822. And that'll be good for now. Again, you can finish setting the rest of these breakpoints up. Now that we have these, what we're going to do is we're going to debug the test instead of run it. There's a few different ways to do that. I'm a right-click person. So I right-click and I say debug instead of run. Run just executes the test straight in, ignores any breakpoints. Debug is going to run the test, but it's going to pause. You can see the yellow line. It's going to pause when we get to a breakpoint. Now I can interrogate. I can hover over things, which patience is still null because this line of code hasn't executed. So if I execute this line of code, I'll hit the step over button or F10. Now I can hover over patience and I can see the values in patience. So this is how this is helping us out. We can interrogate our objects. We can see what's going on, try to figure out what's happening. The navigation is up here. Step over will step over something. So let's see what happens when I step over the new patient sorter. Oh, I set a breakpoint. Let me go back on the breakpoint so we can see a little bit better. So I'm going to drag this back up. We're going to re-execute this line. So I'm going to step over patient sorter, and it just moves to the next line inside the same method. Instead, if I step into, which is the down arrow, that's going to actually go into the constructor so we can see what's happening. And so you can see there is nothing happening in here because it's empty, and then we'll step out of or step over and come back out of that method. So step over will stay inside this method and execute that next line of code to move on. Step into navigates into the method so that we can step through that method or that function and see the behavior. That's basically everything for the debugger. Stop up here will stop debugging. The play button, which we don't see, what that would be F5, that just goes to the next breakpoint. So that continues on and then pauses when you get to the next red breakpoint. That's basically everything I wanted to set up. I do recommend running through this, see if you can figure out why is this intermittently failing. I will give you a hint. It's going to be in the patient sorter class. This is where the problem lies, but you're going to need to see the play between the test file and the patient sorter class to figure out what's going on. So good luck on that, and I hope it is useful for you.